So, a big thing that I'm actually going back. I'm gonna do my programs. When I was creating my programs, I was still in a perspective of thinking that really realistically that I was overthinking so many times, and the humans do this so often. I've really realized this I've spent the last solid 3.5 years in self-reflection on a very high level, right? Like, almost, well, it is, right? And I won't get into the specifics of this thing, but in monk status for a specific reason. What that means, that's self-reflection, when you can be in flow with your environment, what's triggered around you, be in it and be in meditation. And that's what this is, like the any addiction, and a lot of people don't realize when it comes to weight loss or when it comes to ourselves, mindfulness, like it's all the things that are in our head, and the world is a mirror reflection of what we created, and we have to come back to ultimate responsibility. We're coaching ourselves, but a lot of times they say those who can't do teach. We become leaders or coaches in an area that we feel comfortable in, because then you teach something and then you even further learn as you teach. So often, though, we jump into the role of coaching or the role of teaching as a deflection from ourselves. So I say that I'm outing myself, that I really thought, like I said, I did. The truth is, when I'm speaking, it was all truth, it was all authentic. I have healed my eating disorder. I did. I healed it for 10 years. Thought I was over it. The universe challenged me. I wasn't. It made me go deeper. So I created these programs, created these things, and I see this because I realized there's so much of it created online now, and it's so easy to become a coach or a creator, and that's what they teach you, right? Like, find the thing that you overcame. Your avatar is the version of you yesterday, right? So it is authentic and real, but it's hard to come back around after a cycle or a circle of something. So there's a lot of times, people become clean on whatever their addiction is. It could be 10 years, it could be 20 years, it could be 30 years. And people wonder why they relapse. My theories, and this was proven to be right as well with myself, and I could see it, is that we're all mentally ill, everybody. And the ones who don't want to recognize it, like, we have illness in our, and that's always in a cycle, what we can cut out at a time. So it doesn't mean always, it just means a different, because that's where our brains go. What severity. And it's different times of our lives, because all of us at some point are going to have some sort of something that impacts us. That's why we can't compare. But it is the healing for the pain is the pain and the suffering. Why? Because that's our trigger, so we can understand it, so we can get past it. And we're taught so much, well, I'm just an addict, or I'm just, for myself, drug addiction or alcohol or any of those were not my issues, but the brain is the same. So for me, food, self-sabotage. A lot of people don't even realize they have a food addiction or an obsession with food. If you've been a continued dieter, if you've even been able to be on a system where you're in your regimen, and then you lose your regimen, you lose your rhythm, that would mess things up. But you want to come to a rhythm to heal, but that's the blessing of it. It's then so often we get into a rhythm. You can be in a rhythm for 10 years. That's as I was saying, but realizing it, and then the deflection. Where's my energy going? To my children, to my job, to my work, to my husband. So the need to be needed and a people pleaser outwards versus looking inward, because I believed I made up the dialogue in their heads of whatever, versus looking inward, but that's the distraction. So we say, like I said, I changed for my daughter. She was my why from my eating disorders, and so that I would never talk about appearance around her. I would never talk about my weight or her weight. I would never talk about food as anything but an energy or a healing source, and not obsess about it, because that was put on me. Funny enough, and that's just one area of my life with the different things. When you lose, like, okay, teenager, lose that, you lose a part of yourself, because that's a deflection. And that's actually why with addictions or different things, they can come back, because what's the core? What's your self-punishment? What's the core? My self-punishment so happened to be the obsession with the body image. So whatever ways somebody can interpret, and that I'm not good enough. So I'm trained to pick myself apart. And then I'm trained to shame myself when I like something in my body or myself. So I achieved the goals that were, right? So look back at I got the acne, I'm overweight, which I never recorded myself, like in my lifetime, I never recorded myself at my heaviest weight, but at all. I didn't want to be on camera. And I find myself not wanting to be on camera now and moving in that direction versus focusing on, right? And that's the thing. On one area, I'm allowing myself to let go, and in another area, I'm still sabotaging myself. Well, that's the angel and the devil, and that's our internal dialogue that you have to work out and get it out of you. That's actually why I say within this, start recording yourself and watching it back, and that will spin you out. Because so often, you start with one thing, people write, right? So that's part of the program, writing and journaling, because you're quiet in your head. When you have to see yourself, you have to watch yourself, that will trigger and bring up things that most people, and because most people don't do that are very difficult to face. And that's what I did, and I've been doing for the last number of years, and I never wanted to look at myself. I never really looked at myself. It's like when I was modeling or different, it's like a different person. And then I didn't get right in, because it is a different person, a different character. The work that comes into that to then take that picture, but then you're holding yourself to that standard, because the things that goes into it. Okay, well then, who helped you? Did somebody do your hair, your makeup, da da da? Okay, well, what are you expecting to look like? Look in the mirror, I don't look like the girl that's in that. Well, that took work to do. Okay, well, the blessings of being able to do those things. So there's so much more to it. So as I've already created a program for, to be mindful and all that, when I did it, as I'm challenging myself as a coach, I'm calling myself out, but I still wasn't healed enough. That's why the universe kicked me in the face, and that's my relapse. So I have to be a student in my own program. That's why I needed to take a step back from the world for healing versus anything else, because I don't want that in my head, because we're influenced by because I'm so tired of being like people demanding my time. Well, I chose that too, right? But my need to be needed, my need to be the leader, the goals I set for myself as a teen, right? I want to be the motivator, I want to be da 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 da, I want to be on the stage, da 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 da. After you achieve that, come back around. Can you step back? And that might not be your goals. Whatever, like I said, that was my goals. Right? We all have different ones. Like, when are you afraid to be seen? When do you want to be seen? And how do you have to show up or not show up? Or do you not care? And then what if you don't? You tell yourself you don't care. Why? Because you deserve to be your best self and celebrate that. Everyone deserves that. Everyone deserves to feel great. And everyone deserves a break from being judged on their appearance. So if you're a person who's constantly judging people's outer appearance, give your head a shake. And if you're a person who's constantly looking inward and judging yourself, and then you're only looking at your appearance, why are you not looking at the other things you're doing in your life? What are you afraid of? Good or bad?